Hi, I'm Ben. I'm Head of Creative at Duffs.
And I'm Anthony, Head Buyer and Manager at Duffs Jewellers as well. And today I think we're going to delve into the world of sapphire.
Correct. Hey, do you want to know a fun fact?
Yes.
So the sapphire fun fact.
Yep.
Sapphire and ruby are the same stuff.
They are.
You
correct.
know that, yeah.
I do know
You know that.
But many people don't.
No.
So, yeah, that's right. They're both corundum.
Yes, same chemical composition.
Yep.
But as we touched on, I think a couple of episodes ago, we talked about trace elements, getting into the mineral and creating the colour. That's what's happening with sapphire and ruby. Corundum, which has a bit of iron in it, often goes to a dark blue, so we call it sapphire. Yep. Interestingly, sapphire comes in pretty much any colour you can think of, doesn't it?
Lots of different colours.
But when we get to red, we don't call it red sapphire.
No.
We call it ruby.
Yeah. But if it's pink, what do we call it?
Pink sapphire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing, but
what if it's a pinky red? What is it then?
strange.
Yeah. So it's one that I remember as when I first joined the industry, I just couldn't believe these things with it.
Yeah.
Same. But so if it's any colour other than red, we prefix it with the colour. So blue sapphire, green, yellow, whatever it might be.
Yep.
And then we get to red and we just call it plain old ruby. Yeah. So locations, where do we find sapphire? So I've just noted down three kind of main ones. Sri Lanka, which is formerly Ceylon, I guess that's a bit like, you know how the really good ruby comes out of Burma? Really good ruby comes out of Sri Lanka. And we actually call them Ceylon sapphires. Yeah, we use the old name. So you get that colour. How do you describe it? You're talking about
cornflower blue.
Yeah.
A lot of people used to refer them as cornflower blue. So it's that full sort of mid-blue saturation, I guess. Not too dark, not too light.
Yeah, it's even, it's bright. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it performs really, really well. Thailand, I think they're still finding a few sapphires in Thailand. Yep. The rubies are exhausted as far as I can tell, but I think they're slightly darker. You don't get the cornflower blue so much out of Thailand. It's really more Sri Lanka. And then you've got the Australian material.
The old Aussie sap.
Good Aussie sap.
Yeah, good, hard Aussie sap.
Dark blue. Yeah. Not everyone's cup of tea. They're not... The colour's nice, but you've got to, in my view, you've got to warm them up a little bit with diamonds. The body colour's probably a little bit dark in my view, that if you just set it in a ring as a single piece, it's not going to give you a lot of performance. But
you've got to get them on different angles too, so you can get that real sort of bluey, greeny sort of look.
Yeah. Well, that's probably it's an interesting thing with the Australian sapphire. You do often get that, depending on which angle you look at it, you'll get like a blue, and then you tilt it, then you get kind of the green coming through, and then sometimes that melds together and you end up with this sort of teal stone, which that's quite nice, isn't it?
Very popular at the moment, teal sapphire. Very hard.
Is it?
Yep.
And hard to get.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
We've had a few, but they do sell very quickly.
Yes, again, it's interesting. I remember those colours back in the day. They were almost like a curiosity stone. They weren't ever really set into jewellery. People would buy them and say, "Oh, it's really interesting." But now people are they're asking for these teal colours. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that's forced the price up.
It has, and obviously, just trying to get them as well. I mean, we have a really good sapphire supplier, but it is hard to get that real teal material.
Right.
People have been sought after.
Yeah, and then of course like any coloured stone, they all vary a little bit, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
You can have your party saps as well.
As in PARTI.
Yeah.
Not Y. Party. So well, can you explain water-party sapphires.
With the multiple colours.
2 colours.
Yep.
So in the one crystal, so one end's blue and the other's green sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can get some yellow in some of them with the...
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're interesting, but once again, they were probably never one that the customers would relate to when they come in the store. You'd have to actually tell them what that stone is.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. And then, again, just in my notes, I've written legendary cashmere sapphires. Have you heard of cashmere sapphires?
Only in that tie pin that Jeremy found.
Oh, the one that
A few
Markovich
years
wears.
ago, yeah, when we went up to the Hall of Greatness and he went through the trinket box
He rummaged
and
around.
he found the cashmere tie pin, and yeah, when ties were in vogue, he was rocking that all the time.
Yeah, I thought I saw him wearing it. You know, he had a polo shirt on, but he just sort of stuck it in there.
Oh, through the buttonhole.
Yeah, just so he could wear it.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so you know a little bit about it.
Only what he's told me.
Okay, yeah. I did a bit of research. 'Cause I just thought it was interesting because these stones are, you know, stuff of legend. So the cashmere sapphires were found in a remote part of the Himalayas. And I think I might have this right, but there was like an earthquake or something, and there was a bit of a slip, and it exposed some of this material. Really hard to physically get in there, but they basically drained the mine in 5 years. So, 1882 they found this cashmere material. 1887 it was all done. All done and dusted. I thought, well, what makes them so special? And just sort of doing a little bit more reading, it turns out that these cashmere stones were very velvety in their look. They have a soft look. Some of the words that I've heard used to describe them is a sleepy stone or a velvety stone, milky, soft, these sort of terms, which you don't really associate with sapphire. Sapphire's got kind of, you know, a hard vitreous kind of luster to it. So I've never seen a cashmere sapphire in the flesh.
Didn't Jeremy show you?
Oh, well, I did. Well, I'm not convinced it's actually a sapphire. I think, you know, he might have got a bit of glass. Actually, speaking of glass, a client of mine, she's since gone to heaven, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, condolences. But she showed me what she thought was a cashmere sapphire that she bought in Egypt. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And it had that kind of look to it, but we tested it and it was glass. Wow. So, yeah, that's about
Hopefully didn't pay too much for it.
I don't know. Yeah. It wasn't very big, but anyway, yeah.
Fair enough.
Value. Ruby's still the big one in terms of value. Sapphire's not far behind, is it?
It's always trailed.
Yeah.
For a fair while. Good Celanese piece though, with a good sort of clear saturation of colour. Yeah. They can get quite expensive.
Yeah. I think whereas Ruby really starts to skyrocket over 3 carats, probably Sapphire over 4 carats, the price tends to push north pretty quickly. Blue is still the most valuable as far as I can tell, although there is. You've heard of Padparacha sapphires before. There is this sort of weird. It's really hard to explain what a Padparacha sapphire looks like. To me, it's got like lots of kind of orange and peachy tone to it. Pretty rare stuff. They might give the blues a run for their money, but blue seems to be the dearest. And then you've got sort of pink, and then the price starts to sort of drop away a little bit in the yellows, doesn't it? Right down. Yeah. To green and whatnot, which is quite affordable.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a few pink sapphires over the journey. I mean, they're quite nice, but they are getting up in price as well now, just because of the pink factor.
Yep. If you can't afford a pink diamond,
get a pink sapphire.
Pink sapphire makes sense. Yeah. We've touched on treatments when we spoke about treatments of these stones in ruby. With a basic heat treatment. Again, it's pretty common practice with any sapphire. It's generally to improve the clarity or the purity of the stone. Doesn't really alter the colour much. Although I am again led to believe that with the Australian material that often has a slight green kind of overtone. If you heat that up, sometimes you can cook that out a little bit. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's just something that I've sort of heard over the years. So perhaps if someone knows for a fact, leave a comment, because I'd be curious to know. Popularity of sapphire. Out of the big three, I think it'd be fair to say it's the most popular.
Yeah, I think so, because I guess you do have larger amounts of sapphire normally in your store because of the price factor. Like we touched on with ruby, it is a lot more expensive, so you can, I guess, have a few more sapphires in your window to show people. Because of the price point.
Yeah. And having the Australian material, which we don't pay the same premium for, but people still like the look of the Australian material. Whereas
for sure.
You could argue that the African rubies, which have a bit of a brown overtone, they're not as desirable. But the darker Aussie stuff still does appeal. So and you don't have to pay a fortune to get into that. Yeah, for sure.
And I still think you can get sort of that mint blue sapphire up in Varel way, if I'm not wrong, in Varel.
Oh, yep.
Sapphires, just to hear about those.
It's sort of known
too many of them, but
for high quality material, isn't it? Yeah.
So it brings you to more of that sort of mint blue colour.
Yeah. Very good. And then, of course, we've got the lab-grown options too with Saf. And again, we did speak about it in a previous episode, but it's in the bigger material. It's proving to be a good alternative, and they've got so good at growing this stuff in the lab. They can grow basically flawless or near flawless, beautiful colour, salon type material. And it looks great.
Yeah,
and it is sapphire. I think that's what people often don't perhaps fully understand or comprehend, that a lab-grown sapphire it's the same chemical composition as a natural stone. It's just grown under controlled conditions. So
of course it is. It's not like a coloured CZ or anything.
No,
so it
is. No. It's what do you call it? The technical term, the synthetic stone. It copies nature exactly. It's not an imitation. It's not like Markovich's cashmere. That's just copying a sapphire, isn't it?
He will debate that with you. He still thinks it's a cashmere.
Well, we can put it on the testing machine and let's just see how we go there. That's about all I have on sapphire.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do still have like a fairly comprehensive range of sapphires in stock at the moment. So if you do want to come in and see those different colours, we've got the yellow, we do have the party sapphires and the blue and the greens as well.
And that's right. That's where it is great, because it comes in the rainbow of colours, and again, that's not often people just sort of think sapphire blue, but there's purples and pinks and greens and all sorts, and it's a super hard gem. It wears really, really well. It's like 9 on the Mohs hardness scale.
Yep. So second to diamond.
Second to diamond. But unlike emerald, which is hard, it's very durable. In a gemological sense, it's quite spongy, springy. Yep. It's not prone to chipping, not prone to cracking, things like that. Whereas some of these other very hard stones, the diamond's a great example. It's super hard, but it's still quite brittle. Yeah. Whereas sapphire's that sort of good all-rounder. Ergo ruby as well too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so great for everyday wear, engagement rings, things like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
As made famous with the Lady Diana.
Yes.
A while ago, I guess. We made a few clusters from that one, didn't we?
We did. I've still got the basic pattern kicking around the office somewhere. Yeah, just a classic cluster.
Yeah, definitely.
Very good.
Oh, well, thanks again, Ben.
Thank you.
So if that information was handy for you, just remember to give us a like and
something. Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Yep.
And leave a comment if you have any other questions about sapphire.
Very good. Cheers to that.
Cheers to sapphire.
Cheers to sapphire.
And Markovitch's.
And his pin, yes.